Hey, Paul, are you there? I can hear you if you spoke.
Yes, but I haven't said anything.
No, okay.
So, how many people are?
What was that?
There's a lot of people here.
Yeah.
I say that because I just walked past Russ's office and the lights are out.
Oh, did he forget, perhaps?
That could be a possibility.
Or went home for, I did see him about 45 minutes ago, but I don't know. Do you want to do it by yourself?
Well, I don't know about the whole AMA part, but I can describe what the MechLab changes are.
Okay.
Like, we can open up the questions and stuff like that. It's just that I can only talk about MechLab and its current plan of execution.
Right.
Because just to explain to everybody, is like lead designer on MechWarrior Online, not MechWarrior 5. So I have a limited exposure as to what the rest of the team is doing in terms of MechWarrior 5. Right. So yeah, I can only talk about this MechLab thing
Yeah, makes sense.
because there was basically a big internal discussion about how MechLab should operate compared to things like even MechWarrior Online versus MechWarrior 5, MechWarrior 3, MechWarrior 4, right? And there's a kind of a cool decision made. So I was just asked to come and help document it, task it out, and get it ready for production. So that's pretty much what I can talk about.
Okay, well, you can start with the little intro like Russ had in this morning's AMA. And then we can open it up for like 30 minutes and you can just skim through the ones that you can answer, or yeah, we could do it like that.
Yeah, but I just got to say, like, put one caveat out there is that anything outside of MechLab I can't really discuss because that's all Russ's territory and the rest of the.
Okay, yeah. We had some pretty good questions this morning answered, so that will be posted by NGNG perhaps in tomorrow morning for people to tune in if you missed this morning's. I'll still let him know just to see if he wants to jump in later, or yeah, I notified Russ just to remind him. But yeah, let's get started. Paul.
Actually, give me half a second. I think I do have his phone number in my.
He can do it while he's driving or something.
Well, he better not.
No, I know, I'm joking. I'm joking. But I'm assuming he's probably driving in the moment because I saw him not long ago.
Okay. Anyways, I sent him a quick text message. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Paul.
So I guess a brief overview of what's been going. Earlier on, there was discussion about a mech lab that was hardpoint restricted, and what they meant by hardpoint restricted was that an AC-20 was an AC-20 hardpoint. You would not be able to put an AC-5 there, not an AC-10, not anything except for an AC-20, which is very restrictive, but at the same time kind of keeps the lore of what a hardpoint is. That was kind of met with a little bit of frustration from both Russ and the team itself, right? Because that's a little bit too restrictive. On top of that, there is the fact that when you do have a restriction like that, it really makes the variant stand out for each mech chassis. But at the same time, no, not like pretty much nobody in the studio was a big fan of that. There were a couple of people who did like it, but most people didn't. We also didn't want to go the route of MechWarrior Online, which had a lot of hardpoint inflation. Doing things like, oh, I'm going to pull this large laser out and I'm going to put 3 smalls in there, right? If they fit and you have the tonnage for it. And that pretty much caused all kinds of havoc in the MechLab. And when it came to gameplay balance and just overall mech builds, it just was the Wild West. And what came about was a big discussion with the dev team. Like everybody was involved with it, and we decided on kind of like a hybrid of the two, and that's the idea of a hardpoint size restriction. Now, a hardpoint size restriction. Crap, I forgot I closed a window here. Bear with me 1 sec. I'm just trying to find the links here. Just for transparency, it's ID number 1311. Let's see, full detail slots, wrong one. Okay, so let's try to walk this through. I know you guys are wondering what's this babbling idiot talking about, but here we go. Weapons will be divided into 3 of the weapon types. So that's ballistic, missile, and energy. Each of these weapon types will be divided into 3 different sizes: large, medium, and small. For example, a large ballistic would be considered the AC-20 or a Gauss rifle. Like these are all open to change for balancing purposes, but a ballistic medium, for example, could be an AC-5, AC-10, LB-10X, the UAC-5, and the ballistic smalls could be things like the AC-2 and the machine gun. The way this restriction works is that no weapon of a different size can be fit into a hardpoint. Now, let me explain that. If a mech has a AC-20 on it, that's a large ballistic slot. The only thing that will fit there is the AC-20 or the Gauss. You cannot take an AC-5 and stick it in that slot. You cannot take an AC-2 and put that in that slot. The same with missile systems. If you have a SRM-6, which could be considered a large missile system, you would not be able to put a SRM-2 in it. If you have a default loadout that's a missile system that's large, you have an LRM-20, for example. You won't be able to put an LRM-10. You can't put an SRM-2. You can't put an LRM-5. You have to stick with the size restriction. Other than that, there's UI support for that. I don't know. That's the best I can explain it to you right now without like a big spreadsheet of, I don't know, assignments of what weapons are where. But if you want to open up the questions, I can talk from there.
Okay, yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just going to end up blabbing, right? And it's not going to help anybody.
Right. So just keep in mind he'll skim through. He won't be able to get through every question and might skip over if he's not able to answer you. But the text channel is called 6 p.m. MechLab AMA session. And I'm going to open it right now.
And I'm just going to preempt one thing. No, there aren't any horizontal things, so you can't replace a small into a medium or a medium into a small, either way, right? A small is a small is a small.
Let's start from the top.
Okay. Could you release that big spreadsheet you mentioned detailing what weapons belong to which category at current? That would be a question for Russ.
Oh, hey. Hey, Paul, what do you mean it's a question for me? You can handle all this stuff.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna start
Let me,
giving.
sorry, just, okay, go ahead and tell me. I asked. Go ahead.
No, they're just asking if we could release a spreadsheet showing like which weapons are in which classes, like ballistic, small, medium, large. That...
Yeah, probably, right? I mean, what's the worst that could happen? You know, you guys will maybe offer some feedback and debate with us a little bit, but, can you, okay, first off, I'd like to just, can you guys hear me still?
Yep.
Yeah.
I just wanted to express apologies for being late like this. I was at the office right up until like 10 to 6, you know, just kind of working, having my head down working and thinking I was going to stick around the office until the AMA, and then, you know, all of a sudden I just, oh geez, it's almost 6, I better get home. And so anyhow, I'm en route, but if you guys can hear me fine, we can do this. So sorry about that. Hopefully most of you joined in this morning and sounds like a lot of you did, but you got questions like that one. But let's carry on, Paul. If you could maybe just read one question at a time.
Yep. So Spectre, your question about the spreadsheet it's a possibility, and we will talk with the people who do this stuff and see if we can get.
And you pronounce the name. Sorry, the second question was how do you pronounce Paul and my last name? It was Inoue, I think. I'm getting it right?
No.
No, okay.
It's actually Inoue.
There we go, yeah. And mine is Benoit. There we go.
So the next question here, Russ, is are there the same number of slots in MWO, or how do sides hardpoints affect?
So if this is correct, I think there are the same. Well, the number of slots are generally the same as in MWO. Like we try to follow all the same rules and logic, but there are some things that just aren't in MechWarrior 5, right? Like we don't have the specifics of like hand actuators. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but like some things like that. And you know, when it comes to these hard points, there's some difference between you know, now that we have a large, you know, hard point that is both, say, a Gauss and an AC-20, that means that in some situations you're getting the benefit of some extra slots, or in some situations the opposite. But it's generally, like we mentioned this morning, slots are really not a concern in MechWarrior 5. It's not like MechWarrior Online when you're doing endoskill upgrades and all these things that you are really fighting and scrambling for those slot spaces. We generally find that there's plenty of slots around to kind of put your ammo and put your things that you need.
There's an extended example that it gives, and that's a large laser takes 2 slots and a PVC takes 3 slots. So does a large energy hardpoint use weapon-specific numbers, or does it take up a set number of slots? I can touch on this one because the current plan is whatever the smallest slot requirement is for a weapon of a size hardpoint is going to be overall size. So, for example, an AC-20 takes 10 slots, a Gauss takes 7. All large ballistic weapons are going to take 7 slots. So basically, the AC-20 is getting shrunk in its size requirement. Whatever slots, like actual critical slots for heat sinks and all that stuff, that's going to stay consistent no matter what weapon you swap out with at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question: will there be mask, case, or coolant flush, or a flush coolant, and how much? And how will they be implemented?
You say coolant flush?
A coolant flush, mask, and case.
Well, there's no coolant flush at all. I don't believe I'm not sure I can answer the mask thing. I don't believe we have a mask variant, do we? I mean, up to 3049 was there one? So I'm a little ill prepared for that one. I don't believe we have mask. I could be wrong. Coolant flush is easy. We don't have any coolant flush. And case is similar to the way Biotech did it. I think. I apologize if you guys can hear all the people leaving notifications. I can't figure out how to turn that off on my phone. Case is essentially built in to every mech. So the way MechWarrior 5 works is when you get your torso blown off, it will behave as though that mech has case. So what we've done is, if it was a mech variant that actually had case, David on our team has found a way to kind of add some additional value into that mech, an extra, half ton of this, that, or the other to kind of compensate for that, to make it better. But we generally wanted the entire game to have this case-like functionality, mech survivability, and that ammo cooks off on your torso to have one of your pilots that you're not going to lose that mech right away or anything. But that's the behavior we wanted more. There was other reasons why we went that way compared to, I can't remember now all the design reasons, but that's the way it's going to work.
Okay, Wolfos is asking: is there a stock loadout button in MechLab that you can return mech back to a stock variant?
Great question. There are some buttons down there around hitting max armor and doing certain things.
There is a revert all, but I'm not sure if that's I'd have to ask the devs, but I'm not sure if that's going to revert back to stock or if that's going to revert back to last save.
Yeah, that's a great question. We'd have to follow up on. It might do just what they're asking, but we'd have to be 100% sure and verify that.
Sorry, I'm just taking a note here. How does the current MechLab convey the small, medium, large slot size system? It's going to be a block of, I guess, color, and it's all color coordinated for the weapon type. The sizes, it's a straight up one-to-one comparison. Like when you drag an item off of your inventory, you'll see a colored block that's going to fit the exact slot, hardpoint slot for you, right? So it's very obvious.
Yeah, that's self-explanatory. I think that covers it.
Our friend Imperius, can you add full MWO customization via new game plus or unlocked after the main story is completed? That way you keep the original playthrough as you envisioned, and it adds a layer of depth and freedom to the end game.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be a feature when we ship the game. I think we're certainly going to be committed to a certain, even though this isn't MWO and it's not like a 7-year life, 8, 9, 10-year life cycle game like MWO. It's we release it. There will be some level of we hope that the game is successful enough that there'll be certainly some DLC packages, and then beyond that, there's definitely going to be at least some sort of minimum level of ongoing support for the game after it launches, for whether that's basic fixes and bug fix patches or if it goes deeper. So that has to be a value add that we'd like patch in after the fact. I don't see that we'd want to spend time and resources that we could otherwise be using just to like make sure the game is in as solid a condition as it possibly can be in when we ship. But that could be also a target for modders. I'm sure it will be. MechLab will have lots of mods. Maybe what they'll do is they'll allow you to install that mod after you finish the game, just so you can kind of, go kind of crazy after that. But I think what you're saying is that, once you're finished and you're like continuing to explore the inner sphere, that you could kind of go a little more freeform. Interesting idea, but the honest answer is I don't think we'll have that upon upon game release.
And the next comment I think was targeted at me, was telling me to breathe and relax because it's kind of panicking here. Okay, so no, me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Not Rash is asking, seeing as we have a mech lab, a dedicated master mechanic, and I'm assuming enough mech parts to fully repair a mech, can we have our mechanic edit, change a hard point for a big pile of cash and time?
Edit a hard point, as in like make a hard point into an energy one or change something
Yeah.
else?
Yeah.
The way that would have to be working the game right now, the way the game is designed is that would have to be like a custom variant, I suppose, or like, like we hold back a hero chassis and then it unlocks as on a particular mission or quest, and then, it unlocks that thing. But to take like your favorite mech chassis and say, I really want to, turn this energy into a ballistic and stuff like that, no, there's certainly no time to put in that type of functionality for the game. Again, possible mod target or something, but I guess, I don't know, there's probably a mech out there then somewhere in the game that does what you're looking for it to do. But I understand the questions. Everyone has their own play style and kind of did their own thing in MWO. I just think that maybe people aren't able to sort of understand, or we've been playing MWO for so long that maybe you won't have the same desires in MechWarrior 5 that you think you will. Once you get in there and start playing around with the MechSRR and going to the free market and buying, shopping and salvaging, and you'll find you're existing in a totally different universe than what you expect your like gaming desires would be. Just might not be the case, but yeah.
Okay, Traveling Buddy asks, how will the MechLab handle owning more than 4?
How will it handle only more than 4 mechs?
Yeah. I'm not sure what that one is.
Yeah, I mean, it handles it pretty, like, there's really just arm waving there. Like, you can have up to 12 deployable mechs in your dropship. So, it's possible that we find the time to sort of, like, put some story justifications in there that, after you finish, the first act of the story, that there's a secondary, leopard that's there just for like transporting your stuff, and then when you finish the second act or the third one, so to justify it. But ultimately, all that sort of hand waving and fluff, the game allows you to have 12 deployable mechs, and that's a very good reason, design-wise, for campaigns. That I don't want to spoil stuff, but like you balancing your metagame to go deep in the campaign and to be able to handle the contracts that are being offered, you'll need to have a deep stable of mechs. We're trying to balance and design the game to push the player to all have a nice full stable of mechs and pilots, even up to 12, deployable mechs with 12 pilots, maybe more, maybe less. And then there's also cold storage, so you could have additional mechs. I'm not sure if there's a limit on that side or not. And this is all going to be limited by, the time and money balancing too. You may find it very hard to go beyond 12, depending on the player. So, anyhow, that's how it handles it. They're just there. There they are. There's, 12 slots to put your mechs in.
Soviet Armada asks, will the location placement of ammo in relation to the weapon location on the mech matter? For example, if a weapon like an AC-10 is located in the right arm, but the ammo is placed in the left leg, will that affect the reload time of the weapon as the ammo is located further away from the component it was meant?
No, it's the same as MWO. You can put your ammo anywhere you want. The only thing that matters is that's where it's going to explode. So people will, get up to their usual tricks. They want to shove it in their head or their legs. Head is going to be a lot less safe than it was in MWO though, because the hitboxes and the heads are bigger. It's not a PvP game, so I would say you're probably not shoving it in your head very often. Since you got the case, best place is probably in your torsos, or maybe you'll shove it in the legs, but you can put it anywhere you want.
Russell M asks, can you please support going over tonnage with unsaved changes, i.e. dropping a new weapon in, then blocking save until equal tonnage is removed? That would make it much easier for me to.
I don't know. I'm not sure I followed that. He's just saying not being able to, create builds that are over tonnage?
Yeah, basically is as you're customizing your mech, like you pull some stuff off, you drop some new bigger items on, allowing the player to go over that limit, like the tonnage limit, to just play stuff and then work their way backwards, pulling stuff off to get back to down to.
Honestly, it may even work that way now. I mean, when you go in there, you can go over tonnage, I believe. Like, I've seen it go over tonnage when I'm clicking armor and stuff, and so it might be that way actually.
Well, I can get that clarified for these guys later.
Yeah, I'm about 90% sure, but go ahead and do that.
Okay, Snake509. So with this good change, he put good in brackets, so I guess he likes it. Would you ever field these proposed changes on a forum? Maybe an invite-only forum for MechWarrior 5 profile page to maybe kick ideas around with.
I'm gonna say no, and it's not because you don't have good ideas, but this is not MechWarrior Online, and the only thing I mean by that is funneling a premium game for the marketplace is completely different. We hit a big milestone recently. We've got 3 months to finish, and it's going to take everything we have. We have to finish this game not only in English, but we're going to do the additional languages. We have to do all the localization, and we have to, get ready for the platform. I mean, it's we're already in a state. With a premium game, when you get into, you still use terminologies like alpha and beta and all these things, and some of them are a little bit antiquated because they are more about traditional manufacturing methods and such, but still, we're essentially in lockdown at this point. We have a very little handful, like a half a dozen things that are still have been allowed to go into development beyond, and there might be a few more things that speak on that list, but essentially we're already in lockdown in time and all those languages and etc. That's what you have to do. In fact, bigger games like these big games that are shipping, they've been in lockdown for probably twice as long as we've been. So by lockdown, what I mean is they're just bug testing. They're fixing any bugs based on severity, A, B, non-shippable bugs, etc. And there's feature improvement bugs and polish bugs, and this would fall into the category of feature improvement type of bugs that could get approval, and there'd be some small chance that 1 or 2 small feature improvements could be approved if they were simple enough and not risky. So there's just not enough time with 3 months left to put together something like that on the profile page, take feedback, gather feedback, and then put that into implementation in time before the game comes out. So we're going to have to look to post-release add-ons, and I guess that's a good thing. We need content for DLC. We've got lots of good DLC ideas, but DLC doesn't just have to be the content. Like, it could be like, okay, here's a DLC package with content in it, but there's also, here's just sort of a basic free patch that we're also put out that, implemented X amount of changes and improvements. So we have to look at post-release.
I'm just going to quickly interject with one of my questions. Did you just drive through a tunnel or over a bridge?
Who, me? Did I cut out of it?
Yeah, you went full robot for a bit.
Discord gets like that, but I didn't. Anyhow, sorry about that. Is it okay now?
Yep.
I'm actually
Lieutenant.
at home. I'm at home. Sorry, I'm at home
Okay.
now, but I'm just gonna chill in the driveway here because trying to go in and get set up my laptop or something at this point would just probably take too long. So I'm just gonna sit here in my car and we'll carry on.
Alrighty. Lieutenant Paragor asks, what is the reasoning to balance the MechLab as such?
Say that again, Paul.
Basically, he's wondering why what's the reasoning to balance the MechLab in this way, like with a hardpoint restriction, size restriction?
Well, I've gone into that in depth quite a few times. I did it this morning as well, but I've said it in the past. MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries is based around, a mercenary playstyle and also having significantly more freedom than any past MechWarrior Mercenaries game on where you go, who you fight, what contracts you take, when you repair, so on and so forth, who you hire, all those things. And in order for that to work, we felt really strongly that the market and your salvage had to really mean something. When you see a mech in the battlefield and you end up getting it in salvage, and it's a variant you haven't seen yet, and it offers particular play styles that is like really awesome and exceptional and exciting. And when you fly to a particular area and you go to the market and you're surprised to find a particular variant that you really like and you hadn't seen yet, that needs to be very valuable. And the more flexibility you put into the MechLab, the greater chance you are that you're stomping over variants and these types of situations where people, get particular ones and min-max them and boat them, and then nothing on them. All you do is constantly salvage and sell everything you get in the market, and this exploration kind of means a lot less. So that was our philosophy, and we've stuck to it. And recently we made the change, so we feel like this expansion of sized hardpoint system still keeps the spirit of that alive. And in fact, it was the consensus of a fairly opinionated group of players at the office. We briefly considered basically an MWO style, and what I mean by that is not everything, but just in the way the hardpoints work, like energy's energy, ballistic's ballistic, missile's missile. But this system won out, that it was kind of the best of both worlds, that it still provided the flavor of gameplay and uniqueness that we were seeking, but offered a lot more flexibility and a lot more meaning to the marketplace, to the MechLab, and allowed you to also deal with situations where, your Gauss Rifle's destroyed and you don't have one. Well, you can still take the Mech out. You can put the autocannon 20 there, and it fixed a lot of those maybe sort of gotchas or holes we would have maybe got the players stuck in too. So for a lot of reasons, it was the best way to go, and those are the justifications and the reasons.
All right, so I have a ghosty that says, so I can't pimp my ride, basically. I think you can. And what Russ just mentioned is how you basically pimp your ride. The next question is from Mr. Maff. What caused the decision to open the hardpoints up to size instead of being limited specific weapons? I think you just covered that as well. Metal Axe says, will you be able to get more powerful version of weapons of like an AC-20?
Yeah, so we do have the notion of manufacturers and sort of like an increasing quality of manufacture, I guess, the way you could put it. And so it does add an extra level of kind of lore and flavor, but at the same time providing kind of a noticeable upgrade path as you move along. So every weapon type in the game will be like this, and there'll be a handful of levels for all the weapons based on these manufacturers. So pretty happy with the way that's shaping up, actually. So there's more more to do in the MechLab than beyond just like here's a medium laser spot. There's also considerations when you look at your salvage as to who the manufacturers are, and kind of give you a little more thought process when you're picking your salvage than just like quick, really quick clicking of stuff.
Ghastly asked, does MechWarrior 5's MechLab still use MWO and classic Battletech system of critical slots and tonnage? Do we also see endo reserve slots, for example, in the MechLab, or is this abstracted out? So that's sort of like, I guess, endo and.
I think the answer is yes. Like, meaning we still have the notion of tonnage and slots and mechs that are specific chassis still have endosteel and double heat sink. And if I heard the question right, I mean I think it's yes. It's still classic Battletech. It's not all abstracted out. In fact, I would say very little is abstracted out. A little bit of abstracting out with these size hardpoints in that there's some normalization across, say, Gauss to AC20 and how many slots it takes, but that's about the only thing I can think of that sort of like abstracts out like that.
We'll still ask, how will this play into lore? Will we see newer variants of mechs to fit into this new mech?
Yeah, I think it already did. There's, the timeline's 3015 to 3049, so as you move along, you're going to get that mid 3030s range of stuff, and then just as the Jenner JR7F or whatever, like for a Fibrous version, like when that year comes along, then that Jenner comes out. So that's just an example, but that was already planned. That was already gonna happen even with the existing system. I don't think this necessarily affected that, although it's just going to provide a little more flavor. So like when you can replace those mech parts with other parts a little more so, I think.
The next few questions I'm going to kind of just skim through because they've been answered. But if you're not, if I don't answer it properly, then feel free to freak out at Tina. Vinco, are there enhanced versions of weapons similar to the HPS Battletech game? And like Russ mentioned, is yes, there are. Old Bob has come back and he's asking for MechLab pictures.
Again?
Yeah.
Soon. Ish.
K Foxy says, me and my mates are curious. Will the MechLab be set up similar in slots and usable equipment like MechWarrior 4?
You cut out there a little bit, like MechWarrior
4? Pretty much it is like MechWarrior 4. It just doesn't... Well, actually, it's very, very close to MechWarrior 4. Some of the layout changes that we're looking at will actually really remind you of MechWarrior 4's MechLab.
Yeah, I think the only real main difference, or the big difference is, unless I'm misremembering, MechWarrior 4, though, allowed you to hardpoint inflate. So
yeah, it would allow you to put like 3 AC2s in an AC20 slot.
Right. Or you pull up the LRM20 and put like whatever, like 210s. You can't do that. So there's no inflating of the hardpoints, but you can pull out the 15 and put the 20. And I think the better example is, you got your Centurion CN9A and you got your LRM10, but you're like brawling big time, so you pull off that LRM10 and put a SRM6 or whatever fits in there. So you can go all short range. So that's a good example, I think, one of the better examples of the extra layer of gameplay that's going to be available now with this new system compared to what it was just a few weeks ago.
Omniseed is asking, how about a system where smaller size weapons can be put into larger hardpoint, but only in plural amounts? Say 2 AC2s for 1 medium slot, or 2 AC10s for 1 AC20, and MGs. And an AC2 should not be the same size slot type. Also, an SRM6 should not be a large weapon. It's clearly medium or small by tonnage.
Yeah.
So the second part there was just suggestions as to where weapons are going, right? It is still in a state of tuning, I'll tell you.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think SRM6 is medium, isn't it? Because my example of LRM10 to 6, if that's true at all, is that anyhow? I don't have it sitting in front of me, but
the current slot is a medium.
Yeah. So yeah, so we can debate where things go a little bit, but I answered this morning. There's quite a few comments of like, well, what if you could only put 2, small lasers in a medium, or like some form of hardpoint inflating. And there's probably some design out there in that notion that's okay, meaning that it's like wouldn't throw the game out of whack, wouldn't cause boating to go bananas, and wouldn't destroy the kind of free market system that was our whole goal. But the challenge that any of the designs still have is they're exceptionally difficult to represent in the front end UI and explain to the player. The design we have, which accomplishes almost all that, but doesn't allow you to hardpoint inflate, it's very, very easy to show someone who's never played MechWarrior before. When they go in the MechLab, they pull off a medium laser, and it says medium energy slot. And the things on the left that they drag over, it's very clear to see what a medium energy slot, what fits in the medium energy slot. So as soon as you get to the point where you say, well, 2 small lasers can go into a medium spot or something along those lines, then it changes everything from an explanation standpoint and then a balance standpoint and a million other things. So this is as far as we're going to go with MechWarrior 5. There's not really time to go further. Because this change even came in pretty late, it did require that the engineering side was very quick. The engineering side, the reason we decided that we could do it was I think the engineering was because we developed the system pretty much to handle this. We talked about that a lot in the past. So I think the engineering was like nothing. It was like a day or something. But the front end rework altogether is still going to take, like everything with front end, it's probably going to, I don't know, a couple weeks overall, right? With like you and talking to Emily and all the things that happen just to make sure that it all visually works. So I think it's as far as we can go with MechWarrior 5.
Gunbucket is asking, will we be able to role play as a mech tech? And I'd have to say, if that mech tech is a mech warrior.
Role play the mech tech? What do you mean?
He wants to role play as a mech tech, so I guess run around in the mech lab.
Oh, I see.
And stuff.
Yeah, sure, do it. You can be like the mech tech guy who's like a warrior.
Ultimo Scorp asks, what was the line of thought that led to the team to go with the current MechLab style? Okay, so this has been touched on already.
So I mean, it's just a couple extra thoughts. The line of thought for us to kind of change it was, and I haven't really said this yet tonight, was there was always this sense, like even over the last several years, as we were kind of living by this design and this idea of essentially variance or whatever, there was always this underlying feeling, including with myself and everyone else in the studio, that we probably were going to end up doing something a little more than that. But just because I think there was always a sense of like we need to do a little more in the MechLab, and that the MechLab needs to be a little more interesting, a little more useful, and a little more part of the game. But I think we tried to put it off as long as possible because we wanted the design of the game to come together, the vision of the game to come together as we originally envisioned. And if the MechLab was a change, it would be to something that would still fit within that mentality. And I think that's why we ended up where we are. It's like, well, we did think, well, first off, we've got a few issues. Like, what if someone gets this, rare mech and this rare weapon gets blown away and they can't even fix it? And so that was kind of a problem. And then on top of that, the mentality of like, well, geez, it's just not quite enough to do in here. It'd be nice to do a little bit more. And the combination of the two things led to where we went today. So I think we found the ability to take a nice little step here, but for it to still fit in within, the game.
Lancifer asks if there's going to be different weapon flavors, and I would say yes, because it's been covered. King Ronan, I like the idea of this hardpoint restriction reducing the Wild West aspect. My question is, will variants of mechs at least leave some fun, quirky options, like a medium mech with a large ballistic hardpoint? For example, a Phoenix Hawk with a Gauss Rifle.
Well, I mean, Centurion BN9H, AC-20, right? A large ballistic hardpoint. Hunchback 4G, large ballistic hardpoint. So yeah, I mean they exist. Some of the variants are out there. I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, it's not. But I don't think we're going to be creating any special variants that just to change this hardpoints around.
No.
Jungle Plague. heard tell that there will be different versions of each weapon. Blah. Are there going to be notable changes to Lost Tech weapons to ensure that they're not easily eclipsed by improved normal weapons and thus remain special? For example, in HBS's game, medium laser plus 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 was better than the medium pulse laser.
I see. I'll just say, great comment, great question. Thanks for bringing it up. Now we're mindful of it, and we'll keep that in mind as we're balancing the game down the final stretch.
Gunbucket again, will it be like MechWarrior 4 in that things like heat sinks, jump jets, ECM, etc. are just a matter of weight in a checkbox, or will it be more like MWO in respect to critical slots?
Yeah, in that regard, it's like MWO. Only jump jet mechs have the jump jet slots. You can pull them off if you want, take 2 instead of 4 and free up tonnage and, etc. But you can't put jump jets on like a dragon or whatever. And I forget what the other things he said, but same with those items, I believe.
Yep. Phelan Ward Kell is asking, wouldn't it be more dynamic to have the small, medium, large system, but the slot and weight effect, what mech can take the unique weapons, i.e. not every large slot could take the AC?
Not every large slot could take what?
The autocannon 20. So a large ballistic doesn't necessarily mean that you can take an AC-20. It depends on the variant.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying. I guess what you're saying is there's ways to make even certain mechs a little more special in some ways because they can take AC-20. But the answer to that question is the same answer I gave a bit ago. Try to imagine how you would represent that in the front end UI. It's a large ballistic slot, but can't take a particular weapon. So that's very difficult and confusing to explain to users. Think of people that never played Battletech before. They're just like, oh, let's get it, large ballistic slot. Well, why won't this work? Oh, this is like an exception. So, no, I don't think that would be something we'd do.
Okay, Lieutenant Paragor again. Will we get to drive our mechs into the hangar bay and get out of the mech without a cinematic trend?
No. If you want to expound, we're really did not spend valuable development resources on Star Citizen level. I'm crawling physically in, physically out situations. It's not just not where we decide to spend our resources. Those would be fade transitions. A lot of times you'll fade as you approach, the dropship and stuff. And we're really just got to a point where it's like, there's only so much fun in something, and if it doesn't justify the resources, it's better to spend those elsewhere.
He does have a second question: is will I be able to hire pilots from the free market, or do we get them from capturing AI?
Can you repeat that one, please?
Will I be able to hire pilots from the free market, or do we get them from capturing AI?
You hire them from the free market, almost exclusively. There's an exception, story-based. I don't want to spoil anything. I already did. Damn it. Yeah, free market. You go to the market to hire them, and they can be injured. They can be killed.
King Roan is asking. I don't know if this question has been asked, but how much of the MWO variant library will be coming over? Will it include the clan library at some point?
I honestly don't have that answer right now. It's not part of the initial game. But, there's a wide world of DLC options, and who knows what the future holds.
Well, it's safe to say a large number of the MWO variants, IanDresarie variants are going to be there, right? So.
Yeah, we tried to include pretty much everything we could on the IanDresarie side from 3015 to 3049. There's a few exceptions based on a piece of equipment here or there and a few things that so they're not in there, but they're mostly there, yeah.
Snake 509. So in this morning's AMA, you talked about making the game more accessible to people completely unfamiliar with BattleTech MechWarrior at the hardpoint system you plan on implementing. Would you consider developing a difficulty level, for lack of a better term, that could change the complexity of MechLab economic system after release, of course? I know you are all working.
Yeah, I mean, you took the answer out of my mouth. Post-release, yeah, I mean, I think in some ways that we might find that opportunity's kind of been taken from us. I mean, I'm kind of expecting that modders are going to kind of really jump all over that, and it might not make sense for us to kind of do that as DLC or post-release support because it's already out there. But I think we're just going to have to play that by ear. You know, we're a small team, so we really won't even be coming up for breath and like starting to gather our wits about us for like being, you know, thinking real serious about what the, you know, DLC content might be until honestly probably mid-November. So we still have a while yet here where we're pretty much just all heads down, and so we'll see. We're gonna have to play that one by ear, I think, a little bit.
So we've got 2 more requests for screenshots, and then Gunbucket has posted a bunch of stuff in binary, so we'll skip that. How much has the new player interaction? Sorry, how much was the new player interaction and influence on the limited MechLab? What were some of the important factors you considered? Were there focus groups or tests with new players?
Focus groups or test? What's that? Test what?
Basically, what is our plan for new players, and what are the factors that we can?
Well, that's not related to MechLab, but yeah, we actually did some usability testing today. Sometimes you don't have to go too far afield. You know, you go to some people in the office that have nothing to do with the game's development, right? Don't ever see the game, don't ever work in the game. They're taking care of company stuff, and you got family members. So we started doing some of that. There's probably an increased amount of that type of stuff as we go down the stretch here. That's probably the answer to that.
Okay, I'm just quickly reading through this next one. Free roam, as in I don't have any contracts, but I feel like harassing local supply lines in a hunt or different variants so I can make a Frankenmech, kind of like the clan omnipods. Will MechLab allow this? I don't think.
No. You
It's
can free roam around and take contracts wherever you want and kill whoever you want to kill, but you're not going to do that with your mechs.
It sounds like sometimes the weapons get damaged and sometimes the mech itself gets damaged. Will there be separate repair times, or can I slot in a spare weapon?
Yeah, if I understood the question correctly, so like this and that and all sorts of stuff is damaged, and one of them is your autocannon 10, and some of them your medium lasers, and I mean you have you can just kind of say repair it all, unless it says like, okay, it's gonna take 22 days, like there you go. Or you can go in there and kind of pick and choose. You could decide to just re-armor and restructure everything, but leave the medium lasers toast, for example. Cut down on cost and time, and just get the thing back in the battlefield. There's pretty much, as long as the core things, like you got at least one leg, a cockpit, and a working engine. You can take it in the battlefield, and you can choose to repair it pretty granularly.
All right, we're coming down to the last 4 minutes here, so I'll try to blast through these. Will there be a way to test theory builds, like in testing grounds or
I don't think so. It's pretty much go time. Like, time is money. You got to pay the bill every month. So you're just taking missions. You're paying the bills. There's no time to head into the sim or head into the test map. No, I mean that's my long answer for saying no. Don't believe there is. You test it out in your next mission.
Old Bob's asking, will there be a free cam so content creators can make videos, kind of like what MW?
Sorry, one more time. I was getting distracted by a child.
Basically, is there a free cam in MW5?
A free cam in Mech 5.
Yeah, so people can make videos or whatever.
Oh, well, we have one, obviously for our debug mode and for our testing. So, my guess is that we'll probably just end up, releasing the, the shortcut console command for all the like cheap debug menu stuff, and then you'd probably use that. Probably.
We have this one. It might be a little bit too early to answer, but how will the MechLab evolve if and when the client DLC comes?
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't think I'd have a good answer for you at this point on that. If that ever happened, theoretically it could exist in the exact same form, couldn't it? It would just be, clan, large, energy hardpoint, and away we go. So I'm not sure it would have to evolve. But, I haven't thought all that through yet. So whatever makes you happy, I'll just say that. Like, it will evolve in every way you could possibly imagine it would. And it would be a great day. So I'm happy in saying that for now, and we will just have to deal with that, cross that. I hope I get a chance to answer that question. That'd be great.
Demon Jr. is asking how many mech variants per mech may there be? Any special versions?
Yeah, there's anywhere from 3 to 5, 3 to 4 on average, and we have pretty much all the heroes in there too. So, spoiling a lot of shit right now. So, yeah, there's a lot. Most all from NWO. Sometimes one is almost discarded based on its year if it was beyond or something. But
I'm very sorry. In true Canadian.
We have 1 minute left, but there's only like 5 or 6 more questions. You just want to hammer.
Give me 2 more and then I'm gone.
All right. Maybe there could be rare pieces of equipment that allow for building a specific array of specific weapons, like the machine gun array and tabletop, so that there is a unique and interesting way to convert extra small and medium weapons into a permanent high power, moderate heat, short range version of the next larger weapon in this class.
Sounds rad. I can't wait for the first mod to come out with that. Here's a mod idea, sweet custom campaign, reward, something like that. It sounds like that'd be feasible. You could create a weapon called the machine gun array and fit it into a small ballistic spot, and then maybe has the output of like 3 machine guns or something. Like, there's a lot possible, but yeah, it's just we've kind of hit our limit on what we're going to be able to put in the game, when we ship it. But yeah.
Can some parts or weapons be damaged permanently, like they can't be fixed and have to be replaced?
Weapons, you said?
Weapons or parts, like for heat.
Yeah, in fact, that's the case for all of it. Like, meaning weapons, heat sinks, ammo, all that kind of stuff. Jump jets. Pretty sure I'm not lying at all. All that stuff can be damaged, but all that stuff can be permanently destroyed too. Like, quite often, like that stuff's going to be totally destroyed. You lose your entire left torso, like all those heat sinks, all that ammo, the armor, the weapons on your arm, it's all gone. It's gone permanently. So, when the difference is, like, when you're cored, like your engine, like your cockpit, and these sort of things can always be repaired. So the chassis is never a total, like, it just disappears. It's still it might cost millions to see those fixed, but it can be repaired. But things like the weapons, the heat sinks, these type of things, they have to be completely replaced from the market or your inventory.
Right. Raining Fire was the one who asked about the new player experience in MechLab and all that. He was hoping that you'd mention more about the MechLab or how the MechLab was affected by designing the game to be inclusive of new players. If you want, we can kind of like attach that onto the next AMA, right? Just to clarify it, right? Because it is kind of a big topic, and that's going to take a while to explain.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer probably is that we're very, very difficult to do enough for new players. So we're trying to do what we can where we can with this game, and it's little things like an extremely functional third-person view really helps. That came out in the new user test today. Is just shocking how much easier it is for them to comprehend what's going on with a good third-person camera. So anyhow, Yes, thank you. I want to apologize again for being late. Just my excuse is I was just working so hard and I just got lost in the work, making a great game. So thanks again. Sorry I was late, and thank you, Paul, for picking things up there in the first 15 minutes. And I look forward to the next AMA. Appreciate you guys' support and just interest in the game.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Thank you, guys.